Hi everyone, Ryan here with Fight Game Analysis, and today we are going to be talking about Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. If you enjoy the content, please go ahead and click on that like button and also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. Alright, so Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. Man, this is a good fight coming up. A lot of people have been looking forward to this one. You know, on the one hand, you've got Israel Adesanya, former background as a professional kickboxer, switches over into MMA. Hasn't even been in the UFC that long. But as long as he's been here, he's been incredibly impressive. Beat basically everybody in the division coming up. Beat him in very impressive ways for the most part. Won the interim title. Then goes ahead and knocks out Robert Whittaker to win the undisputed middleweight championship of the world. Racks up one defense already. Now, I'll admit it, that wasn't exactly the most exciting fight. Wasn't exactly the most impressive performance, but I mean, sometimes it is what it is. You can't expect every single night at the office to be a great one. So I cut the guy a little bit of slack. Not that big of a deal. Overall, though, man, Israel Adesanya looking good coming into this fight. And then on the other hand, you've got the challenger, Paulo Costa. He's just been a bull in a china shop. You know, this dude looks like a comic book hero. Muscles coming out of his ears. And just running through people. Only seen him go 3 rounds one time. Just knocking people out. So it sets up this awesome matchup to see who's going to be the king of the hill at 185. Okay, so let's start out with the challenger, Paulo Costa. Take a look at him a little bit. Now, the first thing that I noticed when I study his game is that the man's game is built on offense. He doesn't really pay that much attention to defense. He comes in there, his mind is focused on destroying his opponent. Right? He is like the single-minded assassin. He applies constant pressure, comes forward, and just looks to unload bombs. His striking game is built on power. Now, it's interesting. He's got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but we haven't really seen that get played out. We haven't really seen him put that to use in ways that you would traditionally associate with somebody who's reached a black belt in that art. He comes into the octagon. He plays it like a striker, and he's looking to seek and destroy. Now, one of the things that's interesting about his game is that it's not very nuanced. Now, he's very good at a few things. So, for example, like I mentioned, the pressure. He comes forward, he applies constant pressure. Now, he's good at it. It's not like it's reckless pressure. He doesn't come forward too fast and get off balance. He doesn't get too close to a guy and crowd his work. He knows how to come forward, apply pressure to the point where it's applying mental pressure to his opponent, works himself into range, and unloads bombs. One of the things that I love is that he doesn't get too close. He doesn't end up working so close that he routinely ends up into a clinch. He gets to the spot that he wants and then just unloads his power shots. So it's really good in that regard. He really understands how to do that. And he does it in a unique way in the sense that it's almost like he just consistently and constantly moves forward until he gets to his spot. He's not on the very outside too far to strike and then explode into range like a Calvin Gastelum does, for example. So he does it in a very good way, much like you would expect from a brawler. So he's athletic, although you don't see his explosiveness and his athleticism get used in the way that he controls the distance. Now, it does get used, or it does come into play in his strikes. He's very athletic. He's got very fast hands, very fast feet, strikes very hard. Although I will say this, he doesn't have what I would call that true one-punch knockout power. Okay, best example of that's going to be Francis Ngannou. He doesn't have that. He's not going to come out there, hit you one time, catch you just at this one time, one wrong angle, and put you to sleep. Oh, another perfect example that I gotta mention. Last week, Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev. Woo! When he came out there and smoked Meerschaert. Man, that was something. So something like that. That's true one-punch power. You hit a guy one time, he goes to sleep. Usually what you see from Costa is an accumulation of punches. He comes in there and all of those punches are hard, but he has to land multiple ones, hurts a guy, then he ends up getting him out of there. I would also make the argument that he's a little bit defensively irresponsible. All right? He doesn't transition well from offense to defense. My guess is primarily because he doesn't put that much effort into his defense. He's been caught and hurt in the last 2 fights significantly in both of them. Uriah Hall For example, think about the way that he was lighting Costa up with that jab. And Costa just eats him and keeps moving forward. He doesn't really use a lot of head and upper body movement. Doesn't really catch shots all that well. Doesn't even really, to be honest, counter all that well in an attempt to try to discourage somebody from throwing. He's just got his mind set and focused on his game plan, and he comes forward and he works it. So he's not as experienced as those high-level strikers, guys who have been doing it for a much longer time. And you can see in the little ways that he does things. He just doesn't have the depth to his game, I guess is a way to put it. And one other thing is we've never seen him fight somebody who has the ability to take something away from him, which leads me into the champion, Israel Adesanya. Now you take a look at him, completely different style. Now, it's true, striker all the way. Professional kickboxing background before he came into MMA. He was highly successful there. So now he comes over to MMA and he maintains that striking style. He's actually developed some really good wrestling defense, although I won't really go into that too much because I don't think it's going to come into play in this fight. I think this one's going to end up being a stand-up. Okay, so you look at him. He's tall. He's long for the division. Basically going to have the reach advantage on anybody he gets up in there against. And it's the same thing in this fight. He's got the reach advantage against Costa. But on top of that, he's a completely different striker. He's very slick, very shifty. He doesn't go in there and attempt to throw power shots. Doesn't really try to force anything. He's got every single strike in the tool bag, right? He can come out there and do anything he wants. He can work the jab. He can shoot right hands, left hooks. He can go up high with kicks, low kicks to the body. Like it doesn't matter. He excels at some things, not quite as good at others, right? I'm not saying he's a master at it all, but I'm saying he has all of it available to him. If him and his coach draw up a game plan, they can resort to kind of using anything that they think is going to work best against their opponent. And I really think that's going to be key in the way that plays out in this fight. So he likes going forward, or he can go forward, he can go backwards. You know, you can tell Adesanya, he's got great timing. He starts out, he switches up his stances a little bit, gives his opponents different looks. So he can try to get the rhythm and the timing of the fight. Try to figure out what speed, what distance his opponent likes, and what he's going to do. And it's because he's a great counter puncher, right? And that's what you see from him. He has the ability to throw a bunch of strikes out there, left hooks, jabs. He can stand in front of a guy. He can try to work an angle. And when he finds something that works, then he can continue to go back to it. It's one of the things that really sets high-level strikers apart from everybody else, right? Guys who have the ability to really pick up all the information that's going on in the middle of the fight and then utilize it, adapt, switch up their game plan, get rid of what's not working, even if it's what you worked on in training camp, and then continue to just hammer on what's working for you right in the moment. Beautiful example of that is what we saw in the Whitaker fight when he found that left hook and just the timing for it and the way that he was moving and then landing it ended up knocking him out. Man, Whitaker was a great champion. Plenty of impressive wins. Adesanya went in there and smoked him. You know, he had a bunch of tough fights coming up, fought kind of a who's who in the division, was able to show off a bunch of different things, utilize a bunch of different skills, and we've even seen him get better since he's been in the UFC. And he was already impressive when he got there. But he ran through the division in short order, claimed the crown, and now he's here and he looks good. All right, I love the way that he just has the ability to do it all. Transition between offense and defense. Looks good. So the question is, what's it going to look like when these two step in the octagon against each other? Right? How is this fight actually going to play out? First and foremost, I think it's going to be a stand-up fight. As I mentioned earlier, Costa's got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but we don't really see him go for takedowns, initiate the clinch and take guys down, try to get somebody's back and grapple with them, right? We don't see that from Adesanya either. In my opinion, this fight's going to end up playing out on the feet. And I think it's actually going to play out to the way both guys prefer to fight. So what I mean by that is Costa likes to come forward, likes to apply that relentless, constant pressure. I think he's going to do that. He's going to utilize that game plan, and Adesanya is going to let him do that. Adesanya has no problems with letting a guy come forward. You know, he'll stand in front of him flat-footed a little bit. He'll work little jabs here and there, throw little shots, circle out to the side, work angles. But Adesanya won't be that active, and he'll allow Costa to come forward. Costa's going to throw the jab on occasion, right? The hard body kick that he loves throwing. maybe some low kicks here and there, try to get off the right hand, the left hook. I mean, that's what he always does. That's his basic thing, and he's going to move forward. Now, Adesanya is not going to allow Costa to trap him against that cage. They're fighting in the bigger cage. That's going to play to his advantage. They're out there in Fight Island, so it's definitely better than if they were in Las Vegas in the small octagon. But he's going to let him come forward, and he's going to let him do some things, and he's just probably going to play the role of the sniper early. And he's going to be doing it so that he can kind of get the timing, get the rhythm of the fight, find out the speed that Costa's moving at, and Costa will get off with some shots. But eventually, and it won't take too long, end of the first round, maybe going into the second round, but I think probably by the end of the first round, Adesanya is going to be able to pick up Costa's timing. He's going to figure him out, that speed, that rhythm that he's using. Because Costa he's not that complex with his game. He'll throw a few feints here and there, but he kind of comes in with a very straightforward style. Now, I don't say that to try to speak negatively about him or bad about the guy, right? What he does at a very high level, and he's been able to get all the way to the very highest top of the UFC, this title fight, doing just exactly what it is he does. So when I say he doesn't have a lot of nuance or subtlety to his game, hey, guess what? Obviously, it's been working out for him just fine, right? But I don't think it's going to work out for him fine against a striker like Adesanya. I think he's a little bit too shifty, a little bit too slick. He's just seen a little bit too many things. He's got way, way more experience against higher level strikers than Costa has. And I think that's going to play out here, right? Styles make fights. If you watch these videos, you're going to hear me say that a million times, right? Because it's true. Styles make fights. So you've got a guy who's coming forward, in my opinion, with a more predictable style. It's all based on power against a striker with more experience, longer, lanky, good footwork, knows how to use upper body movement, very good with countering, very good timing. I think this is a style, or I think this is a fight in which Adesanya is going to be able to shine. I'm taking him for the win here. I think he's going to be able to start to pick apart Costa as soon as he gets his timing and his rhythm down. I think he's going to be able to land hard shots, just get in there and do some very good work, start to break him down. We've seen him do it in almost all of his fights, right? We saw him do it against Gastelum, Brunson, Tavares, Whitaker. He finds his shot, and then he continues to work it. I think the check left hook's going to work out for him well here. And I think eventually he's going to be able, once he gets off a few hard shots, he's going to be able to wobble Costa. I think he'll be able to start to push him back. And once he starts to back Costa up, I think he's lost. I don't think Costa knows how to fight going backwards. We've only seen him come forward and be aggressive. I think if he starts to back up, he's kind of going to be like a fish out of water. It'll be the beginning of the end for him. I mean, his cardio is a question mark. We've never seen him go 5 rounds. I mean, maybe Costa's got great cardio. Maybe he won't even be breathing hard in between 4 and 5 when he's sitting on a stool. But we don't know yet. And I know he's carrying around a lot of muscle. And that muscle requires a lot more oxygen. So it'll be interesting to see if he makes it 5. If he tries to press the pace like he's known for, what is high work rate and this pressure, and if he can keep that up in light of what Adesanya is doing over the course of 5 rounds. But for me, my prediction, I'm taking Adesanya. And I actually think he's going to get a late stoppage. 4th, 5th round. I think those shots that he's landing, the way he's picking them apart, because Costa is durable, man. He's eaten some bombs from some guys, and he's stuck around. But I think it's able to add up eventually. Costa or Adesanya lands the clean shots on him, and he walks away with the stoppage win late in the fight. Should be an awesome one, though. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you think Adesanya is able to walk away with this one and still? Or is Costa able to get this one and it's and new? Love to hear what you guys think.